There is a particular kind of falling that happens to people who have spent so long being seen by everyone that they have almost forgotten what it feels like to actually be known by anyone. People whose lives exist in a kind of permanent visibility, whose name carries weight, whose presence in a room shifts its atmosphere, whose choices and movements and associations exist in a space that extends well beyond the personal. People who have learned out of sheer necessity to manage the distance between who they are publicly and who they are privately with the kind of practice precision that eventually becomes indistinguishable from instinct. These people fall differently, not less deeply, often more deeply, precisely because genuine feeling is so much rarer for them than it is for someone whose life does not require that constant management of self, but differently, quietly, in private, with a discipline and a containment that keeps the falling entirely invisible to the world they inhabit while being absolutely, overwhelmingly real in the interior life they protect from that world. Someone in that position has fallen for you, Virgo, quietly, completely, in the specific way of someone who did not plan for it, did not see it coming, tried in their own way to manage it when it arrived, and discovered that some things simply do not respond to management. Some things arrive fully formed and settle in so completely and so immediately that the only question available to the person experiencing them is not whether to feel it, but what to do about it. They have been doing nothing about it until now. Drop the word crown in the comments right now and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because what I am seeing in these cards, the love that has been falling in a high status person's private interior for longer than they have been comfortable acknowledging, is about to stop being private. And the moment it stops being private is going to be one of the most unexpectedly significant moments of your year. Let me begin with what I kept returning to when I first connected to your energy today, before the cards, before any specific information, just the quality of what I felt when I tuned into the field around you and the field around this person simultaneously. What I felt was contrast. The specific and striking contrast between the exterior life of this person, the visibility, the weight their name carries, the particular atmosphere of a life lived with a certain status, and their interior experience of you. Because externally, this person moves through a world that is large and populated and in constant motion, a world that has demands and obligations and the particular exhausting performance of being someone that other people have opinions about, expectations of, a relationship with, even without ever having met. And internally, in the place that world does not have access to what they carry around you, is something so uncomplicated and so pure that it almost shocks me when I compare it to everything else in their energy. It is simply love, without agenda, without strategy, without the calculation that tends to run in the background of someone whose life has taught them that most things, most connections, most offerings of warmth and closeness exist in relationship to what they represent rather than who they actually are. With you, it is different. With you, it is simply love, the kind that does not know how to be anything other than itself, that does not have a goal beyond being near you, that does not want anything from you that you have not already given simply by being who you are. That purity in a person whose life has very little of it is something they are holding with a reverence that would genuinely move you if you could see it. I want to tell you how this began, the origin of it. The moment or the accumulation of moments through which a person of this particular position and this particular guardedness arrived at the place of complete, unmanaged, quietly revolutionary love. It did not begin with your most impressive moment. That is the first thing I want to say because it matters. This was not ignited by the version of you that is most put together, most articulate, most demonstrably excellent in the ways that tend to impress people who are accustomed to excellence. It began somewhere quieter than that, in a moment or a series of moments where you were simply yourself without performance or awareness of being watched or any particular intention to be affecting. This person has access in their life to impressive. Impressive surrounds them. Impressive is the water they swim in. What they do not have access to, what their particular position makes almost impossible to find, is real. The specific quality of a person who is simply unself-consciously completely themselves, regardless of who is watching or what the occasion demands or what impression is being formed. You were real in front of them without trying to be, without even registering that it was a specific and remarkable thing to be in a context where most people are performing. And that reality, the experience of encountering someone who was not adjusting themselves for their presence, who was not managing the interaction toward a particular outcome, who was simply being exactly what they were, without any of the calculation that this person encounters constantly that hit them somewhere they did not know was available to be hit. It woke something up. Something that had been managing itself into dormancy because the conditions for its expression had never quite materialized. Something that, once awoken, has refused to go back to sleep. Now I need to describe what love looks like from the inside when it belongs to someone in this position. Because it has a particular texture that is shaped by the life they live, and understanding that texture will help you receive what they are bringing with the right quality of understanding. They love in private. That is the defining characteristic. Everything they feel for you exists in a protected interior space that very few people in their life, possibly no one, currently have any visibility into. This is not because the feeling is shameful or confused or uncertain. It is because this person has learned through experience that is specific to their particular kind of visibility that the private things are the things most worth protecting. That the things you carry in public are subject to interpretation and commentary, and the particular distortion that happens when something real is observed by people with no stake in its reality. And this feeling, whatever else it is something they want to keep real, something they want to protect from the distortion that their public life would subject it to if it became known. So they carry it privately. But the carrying is not cold. In private, in the interior space where no management is required, it is warm and specific and enormously present. You occupy more of that interior space than anyone or anything else currently competing for it. When they are alone, when the performance of their public life has quieted and they are simply a person sitting with their own thoughts, you are there. With a consistency and a completeness that has long since moved past surprising them and is simply a feature of how their inner life is organized now. They also love in detail. This is the second characteristic. Having so few people in their life who know them accurately, who see the actual person beneath the position, they have developed an extraordinary appreciation for the specific, for the particular, for the individual detail that reveals character rather than the general impression that reveals only surface. And they have been collecting your details with the specific attentiveness of someone who understands from their own experience how rare the real things are and how worth noting when they appear. They know things about you that you have probably forgotten you revealed. Small things, the way you reason through something difficult, the specific quality of your care when someone near you is struggling, the humor that surfaces when you are genuinely relaxed, the particular combination of precision and warmth that you bring to things that matter to you. They have all of it filed with a care that is itself a form of love. Let me speak to the question that is probably sitting in the back of your mind right now. The question of whether this is real. Whether someone of this position and this visibility, someone whose life contains options and access and the particular abundance of a person that many people find compelling, could genuinely, seriously, quietly fall in love with you in the complete way I am describing. The question itself is the thing I want to address, because underneath it is something that I see in your energy, and that is worth naming clearly and directly. A very quiet, very Virgo, very carefully maintained doubt about your own eligibility for this particular kind of attention from this particular kind of person. A doubt that does not announce itself as doubt. It is too well managed for that, but that lives in the slight disbelief with which you will receive what I'm telling you today. In the part of you that wants to ask whether this is really about someone like you, I want to answer that directly. Yes, it is about someone exactly like you. And the reason it is about someone exactly like you and not about the many other people this person has access to, has encountered, has found compelling in various ways without arriving at this place, is precisely because of the quality of your specific reality, the particular, irreducible, completely individual reality of who you are. Virgo's most magnetic quality is not what you tend to consider your most magnetic quality. It is not your intelligence, though the intelligence is real and is noticed. It is not your capability, though the capability is extraordinary and is recognized. It is the combination of depth and authenticity, the experience of someone who has actual interior substance and does not perform it, who is genuinely, richly, unselfconsciously alive in a way that announces itself not through display but through simple presence. For someone who lives in a world of performance, whose daily life is structured around the careful management of image and impression and the particular exhaustion of always being someone that other people are relating to, encountering that combination is the equivalent of coming in from cold into warmth. It is not subtle. It is not something they can choose to be unaffected by. They were not able to choose to be unaffected by you. What has stopped them from expressing this before now? Because the love is not new. It has been present for longer than its silence might suggest. And understanding what has kept it quiet will tell you something important about the quality of what arrives when the quiet finally ends. The first thing that kept it quiet was uncertainty about its welcome. This is not a person who is accustomed to offering something that might be refused. Not from arrogance, from the very specific vulnerability of someone whose position means that any expression of genuine feeling exists in a complicated context where the response to what they offer might be shaped by what they represent rather than by what they actually are, where they cannot always be certain whether the warmth they receive is warmth for them or warmth for their status. And the uncertainty of that, the impossibility of always knowing whether they are being seen or being seen as something, has made them cautious about expressing things that require being seen accurately to be properly received. With you, that uncertainty has been different, smaller, not absent. It has not been absent. but smaller than with almost anyone else they have encountered, because something in how you engage with them has consistently communicated that you are responding to the person rather than the position, that the status is not what is interesting to you, that the actual human being is what is interesting to you. And that communication, even though you have made it simply by being yourself rather than through any deliberate effort to make them feel seen, has slowly, over time, reduced the uncertainty to the point where it is no longer sufficient reason to keep the feeling in. The second thing was timing. Their life has seasons, and this particular season, the one they are in right now, has produced in them a readiness that earlier seasons did not contain. A readiness for something real, for something that exists in the private interior rather than in the public exterior, for something that is theirs in the specific, personal, completely non-strategic sense of belonging to the actual person rather than to the life they live. The timing is now. That is what these cards are showing me. The readiness has arrived. The uncertainty has been sufficiently reduced. The love that has been quietly present for long enough to have become a permanent feature of their interior landscape is preparing to become something that exists between you rather than only within them. Let me describe what the expression of this love looks like when it arrives. The form it takes, the quality it carries, because it is going to arrive in a way that is shaped by who this person is and how they move through the world. And I want you to be able to receive the shape of it accurately. It is going to be private. Whatever they say or do or show you, the expression of this love is going to happen in a context that is removed from everything public about their life. They are going to create a space that is specifically and deliberately separate from the world they usually inhabit. A space where what exists between you is not subject to any gaze but yours. This is not secrecy in the problematic sense. It is the very deliberate protection of something they consider precious. They do not want this to be a public event. They want it to be a real one. It is going to be specific. The love they express is not going to be general. It is going to name things, particular things, the specific qualities in you that have produced this feeling, the specific moments that mattered, the specific ways you have moved them that they have been storing quietly and are now prepared to name out loud. That specificity, the experience of having the particular details of who you are named and acknowledged and valued, is going to be the most significant part of what they bring. And it is going to ask for something, an answer, not an immediate commitment to anything that requires more than honesty. They are not in a position to be careless with what they are offering, and they will not ask you to be careless with your response. But an honest answer to an honest expression, a willingness to be in the same real space they are moving into, a meeting of their coming forward with your own. Virgo, I want to say something to you directly before we close, something that has been present in the energy of this reading from the beginning, and that I want to offer plainly, because plainness is what it deserves. You have been waiting for someone to love you at the level you are actually at, not the level you present deeper than that, the level where you actually live. In the full complexity and the full richness and the full depth that most people never get close enough to encounter. And you have been waiting with the particular patience of someone who has long since accepted that this kind of loving is rare, that not everyone has the capacity for it. That finding someone who can see that deeply and wants to see that deeply and loves what they find when they get there is not a given. This person has that capacity. It has been developed by a life that required them to understand the difference between surface and depth, between performance and reality, between the version of someone that the world has access to and the version that actually matters. Their particular life has made them an expert in that distinction. And what their expertise has told them about you is that what you have at depth is extraordinary. That the version of you that most people see is already remarkable. And that the version beneath that, the one they have gotten closer to than most, is the kind of thing a person with any real discernment does not encounter and walk away from unchanged. They walked away changed. They have been changed since the beginning, and they are about to tell you so. Let it be the beginning of something that operates at the full depth of what both of you are capable of. Let the high status exterior of their life be irrelevant to how you receive the very private, very genuine, very specifically yours love that lives beneath it. The person beneath the position loves you completely, quietly, and with a seriousness that has survived everything it needed to survive to arrive at the place of being ready to say so. Be ready to receive it. Tell me in the comments, does someone come to mind? Someone whose particular position in your world or in the wider world has made the idea of their genuine private feeling for you feel slightly outside what you allowed yourself to expect. Drop crown if this reading landed somewhere real and quietly significant today. Tell me if you have felt the quality of their attention and not known what to do with it. Tell me if something in how I described their interior experience matched something you have been sensing in the space between you. Because what you have been sensing has never been your imagination. It has always been them, loving you quietly from the inside of a life that gives very little away. Until now, with everything, Virgo. I will see you in the next one.